This is the Home Tech Podcast, show number 62, recorded on February 23rd, 2012. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live and commercial-free from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a snowy. It started snowing this afternoon here in Bellevue, and I think we're supposed to get a couple inches tonight. We normally get really dry, small, kind of crappy snow throughout but this year, whatever reason, global warming, heavy, thick, sticky, wet stuff. That's what's coming down right now. And I had to work late, so we're broadcasting a little bit late out to you live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a blustery, cold Bellevue, Nebraska. Of course, we post this each week out to the AverageGuy.tv, and Andrew's back on the docket for show notes. So, Andrew, yes, thanks for coming back. I did the last couple, and I like it when you do the show notes. You can contact the show podcast at the AverageGuy.tv. Track me down on Twitter. I'm just at Jay Collison, and as mentioned in the pre-show, I'm actually doing more tweeting for work and in a new recruiting role for Gallup, and so I'm on Twitter a little bit more, and so you can find me on Twitter just at Jay Collison. You can also find us on Facebook or iTunes by searching the Average Guy Podcast, and please leave a comment. If you're out on iTunes, leave us a comment. That always helps with the search rankings. I asked a couple weeks ago if anybody was getting emails, or if anybody was downloading it on iTunes, and I got responses from about, a handful, maybe two. And so I appreciate that. If you do think of it out on iTunes, go out there and drop a comment. We also have all the links you could ever need to download the podcast automatically to your iPod, iPad, whatever player you have, as well as your Android phone or tablet. Just head out to the AverageGuy.tv and look at the right-hand column. Those links are, and of course, if you have any questions about how to get that done, or you're not familiar with RSS, just shoot me an email, podcast at the Average Guy, or Jim at the AverageGuy.tv works too. And we'll get that right back to you. It's been a crazy couple weeks for me, guys. I know we've missed 2 weeks of podcasting. I didn't intend to do that last week. Was on my way back from Kansas City. In fact, we had done a live Google Hangout in the afternoon on the way down. I opened up a Google Hangout on my Android phone, invited a bunch of folks to it. Sadler and Rich O'Neill and Bill and Gordon showed up to it. Dave, actually, for Dave McCabe from the Home Server Show, showed up from Costa Rica. And so there were 4 out of the 5 of us were on mobile devices on the Google Hangout. Rich was kind of the lone guy on his PC back there in Vermont. And it worked pretty well. I got dropped a couple times in the Google Hangout, of course, because I was on the road. It would just drop me and I'd reconnect. It dropped me when I went from 3G to 4G on Sprint in Kansas City. But I got down to Kansas City, pulled in a parking lot, was talking to Rich, finishing the hangout, and all of a sudden the lights began to flicker on my dashboard on my car. I drive a 06 Honda Civic Hybrid, and I thought, oh, crap. The radio went out, lights began to flicker, and so I turned the engine off, and I went to turn it back on, and there was nothing. And I'm like, oh, crap, this is not good. And I was cutting it because we were going to try and podcast at 9 p.m. Central, and that would have meant I would have had to leave that parking lot right about 5:30 or 6 to make it back in time to even get the show started on time. And I decided to call AAA, and fortunately, it was just the battery. It was the main battery. You know, I have a bunch of batteries in the back seat that run the hybrid, or run the electric engine, but there is a battery that starts the gas motor in there as well. And that battery had lost a cell, and so I was not getting consistent DC across the power supply for the car. And they replaced the battery. It's back in business, but I didn't get to leave till 6:30 Central, and of course that did not allow me to be back. Although we could have gone this late last week, but we didn't. Anyways, it was nice getting 2 weeks off, and it's good to be back. So I appreciate you guys and the listeners for giving me a couple weeks off. Nobody emailed me and complained, so I appreciate that as well. That could be good or bad.
I complained.
Yeah, you did. You did. But I appreciate you guys giving me. I had done 60 of those in a row, I think, without maybe one break in there or so. But it's good to take 2 weeks off. All right, well, let's get the guests in here, and then I'll give you a little more info. Of course, joining us from JPEG to RAW, and he has become a podcasting extraordinaire of his own, Mike Howard. Mike, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Staying awake with straight infusion of Diet Mountain Dew. And we're not getting snow here. We hit a high of like 76 today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, hot Atlanta. It'll be
76 in February. That's crazy.
I know it'll be a million degrees there before you guys know
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah, that's true.
Mike, things are going well over there at JPEG to Raw. I got a chance to tune in to your podcast Tuesday nights, 8 Central. Is that right?
Actually, 8:30. We moved it.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, 8:30 Eastern.
8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central.
Yes.
And it was I was pretty impressed. I was watching the live stream, just chatting with you a little bit on Skype at the time. And you've got a nice little show intro now. You just kind of kick in right with the music and go right to it. No edits, no adding additional music. You guys are pro.
We're trying to streamline. We're trying to get better. Yeah, it's going pretty good. We actually have guests booked all the way into May now, so that's doing pretty good.
Nice. And so that's just jpeg2raw.com. Mike's been on the show before, and Andrew will include that link in the show notes. But things are going well. You had about 75 live listeners over there. I was pretty impressed.
We did. We're averaging right around 40 a show now.
Nice. Yeah.
And if you throw it a big show, we had 151 on one show. If you throw that out, we're about 134 average.
Okay, that's
Not
really
bad.
good for live. You know, you and I have talked. This podcast does a little bit more on the download side.
Yeah.
And your audience is a more live oriented. That's worth some discussion at some point, I think, with you to talk about the differences in the demographics and what that means from a listening standpoint.
It is. You know, I often wonder if because we have so many in the live that then deters from people downloading, and then if you can't make a live show, does that mean you just don't get it?
Yeah. Do you skip that week if you're not in the recording mode? You know, where you're listening, you're getting it downloaded to your iPod or your phone every week.
And you know, with that in mind, we're doing a big push right now where we're giving away. This is not the special announcement if you're here for this.
Okay.
We're giving away Lightroom. Lightroom 3. We're giving away that. Contest runs through the end of March, and you got to do 3 things for us. You got to like our page, join our group, and subscribe to the podcast. So hopefully that will encourage people to do it.
And all those details are available over at jpeg2raw.com.
Yep. The special announcement I'll make later.
If I've already got Lightroom, can I get a copy of Photoshop instead?
Yeah, go to www.adobe.com.
Amazon.com.
You got to ask.
Speaking of that, Adobe had a special they were running last night where you can get the educational version of the extended Photoshop for $39.
Oh man, nice.
But you know what?
80% off, yeah.
They made a mistake. The educational version was already 80% off. They 80% off that number. So this was a $900 piece of software that they were selling for $39.
Nice.
So I put it all over my page because I stumbled across this. Hey, everybody go out there and do this. And Adobe figured it out this morning, and they canceled all those orders.
Oh,
bastards.
That sucks. Well, it's too bad they didn't honor that.
Yeah.
Almost like a certain company that sold a certain tablet that they sold at a certain price and then didn't have enough of them to fulfill the certain orders that were added at a certain.
That was an Android tablet, right?
That was running a certain new web OS. That. Anyway. Well, that laughing, of course, is my brother from another mother. That's Andrew Morris. Andrew from Melbourne. How are you doing this evening? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, pretty good, Jim. It's sultry 98 degrees in Melbourne at the moment, so
nice.
the air conditioning's on and the summer haircut's in full effect.
Yeah, how the solar panels kicking in?
I haven't looked. I've been busy as a one-arm paper hanger, so I think. Currently, since we put them on in May last year, we're $450 in credit with the power company.
Nice.
So we're probably about $1,500 up by now.
And the total that thing was in the 10 to 12.
About 11 grand all up.
11 grand.
We bulked out.
And that's with government subsidies and rebates and such. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, if you're only midway through the summer for the most part, right? So you'll probably
much.
do another grand this summer, maybe, you think?
I'd like to think so, but I'm not really that hopeful. It's I think we'll probably do maybe another $600 before the summer runs out. But at the rate we're going, we're still paying for our gas and our natural gas and our electricity, so
Yeah.
That was the main objective all along, just to zero out our bills.
But from an investment standpoint, as far as it
Ah,
paying for itself, right? So you're at what, $3,000 a year, you think, on
yeah,
average, maybe?
thereabouts. Yeah, so call
So
it a
three and
4-year
a half
payback.
years. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's actually real decent. I'm excited to see solar power start to come down in price,
yeah, yeah,
and it's starting to creep its way down here in the U.S. And I think by the time I'm ready to actually do it, it should be cost effective. This
yeah.
house I'm in right now, I've mentioned this before. The house I'm in right now is almost a completely perfect pitch on the roof. It has a southern exposure that I could probably put 4 large panels on and generate just a crap load in the summer of solar power. So it's got to come down. Nebraska does not have very good tax incentives for right now for solar power. The state of Iowa does, but that's just a stone's throw away. But that doesn't work here. So kind of waiting
Yeah.
for Nebraska to get their act together and throw some solar panels on the roof. So Andrew, welcome. Thanks for coming out. We missed you a couple weeks back, and then we took a couple weeks off, and it's been a while since we've had you on.
Oh, it's been hectic out here, let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet it has. Well, I mentioned the pre-show. I'm getting paid to tweet, not really, but most of you guys know by now I work for Gallup here in Omaha, and back in December I changed roles. Not really changed. I lessened my management role and I took on a new recruiting role. And in the recruiting role, they actually encourage me. Of course, college students. I do college student recruiting and new hires for experienced folks. And of course, one of the way we find folks communicate with them is via Facebook and Twitter. So I've kind of joked lately. Today, I just sent out a bunch of tweets. We did a recruiting event tonight, which is why I was so late. We had about 100 college students from the area here into the Gallup. I almost said into the Gallup studios, into the Gallup facility there, and talk to them about job options and internships. So with that has been one of the major factors that's been playing in my schedule. It seems like we schedule all those things for Thursday nights. I got to stop doing that. But kind of fun to be back on Twitter legitimately and not
Spamming people with your
yeah.
running schedule.
Yeah, well, I did take my running tweets down for the most part. I broadcast them every once in a while, but I did get so much negative, not negative, and I know, Andrew, you're just joking with me, but
Some people weren't.
some people weren't. Yeah, some people weren't. I guess you got to be careful. And I do run a lot, so it was when it was hitting every day. And I guess it's funny because my Twitter stream is so busy that I don't see individual tweets like that. But I guess other folks don't follow as many people, and so I was showing up every day.
I don't know. I was riveted by him. I retweeted him all the time.
Whatever.
Well, when I was only following you at that stage, Jim, so
That's it, huh? It was just me and Neil. Well, Runkeeper has continued from a tech standpoint. Runkeeper has continued to upgrade their software or their web services, and it's just a dynamite little application for both the iOS and for the Android devices. And if you're trying to track your fitness at all, it's free and it's pretty powerful. The way they make money is they sell the additional reports that you can get from them once you've put all your information in there. So if you haven't checked it out yet on your Android or iPhone, try Runkeeper. All one word, RUN Keeper. And no, I'm not. I don't make any money off them, but nice little application. Mike, you had an announcement that you wanted to make, special announcement. Let's not make people wait all the way through the podcast if they came over here. But what do you got for us?
Yeah, so I mentioned the Lightroom giveaway. Everybody knows about that. That's a fan of JPEG to RAW, that we're giving away Lightroom and how to do that.
And that's good for our listeners too, right? They can come over to jpeg2raw.com and sign up for that as well.
Yep.
Right?
Anybody who wants to can come over and sign up. You
don't have to be a photography buff, but although it's Lightroom, so you probably want to be. Right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's Lightroom, so Lightroom is an image editing software, image management software. So if you're not really into photography, it's not going to do you much good. In addition, you get an hour in a Google Hangout with me and Tim to help you get started with it if you want. If you don't want, if you already know about it, you don't have to. But if you do, you can have an hour with us in a Google Hangout like this. But that's not the special announcement. So we have a guest coming on next week, Scott. I'm going to mispronounce his name. Let's just call him Scott. And he is going to donate a piece of software to us that we're going to be able to give away next week. It's On One Software Photo Suite 6, a $300 value. We're going to give it away to somebody in the live chat next week.
Wow. Nice.
During the show. So next week you got to make sure you're in the show or in the chat, and that you've logged in, so we have your name, because I'm going to go out there, take all the names that are in chat, put them in a spreadsheet, create a random number, and then say, Scott, pick a number, and that person will get that copy of that piece of that software. It is
nice.
I'll put after we're done with the show here, I wanted to do it exclusively here. But after we're done with the show, I'll put out something out on Facebook and links to this software. It looks pretty nice. I'm looking at it now.
Very cool.
$299.95 is a full retail version, and that's a very good gift. And we thank Scott for donating that for us.
7:30 Central, 8:30 Pacific. I'm sorry, Eastern. JPEGRaw.com. Click on the live tab.
Yep. So any of our listeners, make sure you're there.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right, we've been rambling on long enough, and I did want to say thanks. For most of you who know me, who follow me, last weekend I got the opportunity my dad passed away about 2 weeks ago, and kind of at the end of a very long struggle with just life. He was in bad shape, and he had a stroke a couple years back, and then he fell right after Christmas and broke his hip, and so got the opportunity to travel out to Colorado Springs. Boy, having an Android phone now as I travel across Colorado just changes all the whole drive. I can be connected almost the whole way, which makes that long trip across Nebraska and down Colorado in the high plains, so to speak, just a whole different thing. I think this isn't tech related, but you guys have been listening to me for a long time. I said this last night on the Home Server Show. I'll say it again here. Don't wait till the last minute to tell your family members that what they mean to you. We went out. I went out there several times over the last 5 or 6 years, and just made sure I had it all said, because you don't want to get to that point and wish that you had said something. So,
yeah.
So take my advice. If you're neglecting your family, your parents, if you haven't called them in a while, give them a call. Tell them what they mean to you. And make sure you do that. It was so good to go back, spend some time. You know what? I took a tech break for almost 5 or 6 days. I kind of, for the most part, shut most of that stuff down and really spent some time with my family. And you need to do that every once in a while too. Just kind of back away from the tech and spend some time with those you love. So, okay, now I'm back. I'm all in. I'm all tech all the time. Now it's good. It was a good break, but let's talk some tech. And let's get after this. Andrew, you had mentioned that VLC has updated to 2.0. Tell me a little bit about VLC. I'm not even sure I know. I mean, I kind of know what that is, but what is that?
VLC is the Video LAN client. It's a aftermarket alternative for Windows Media Player. So they went up to version 2.0. I think it was on Tuesday, Wednesday this week. Yeah, it's open sourced. Okay. Yeah, it's open sourced. So it's a freebie. So they've gone up to 2.0 on the Mac. The noticeable differences are it doesn't look like it's a Windows 95 application anymore, so it looks a bit more native.
It did kind of look old and outdated for a long time, didn't it?
Oh yeah, on Windows it still does. It still looks like a Windows 95 application.
Nice.
Oh, it's golden. Yeah.
It's a player though, right? It's not an editor. It's just a player.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. It's a player, and you can do a whole bunch of funky stuff. You can do some transcoding with it, I think, and the odd thing like that. But I mean, I use it as a player for audio and video. And probably the most noticeable feature most notable feature in this release is it's now got Blu-ray support.
Oh,
whereas previously it didn't.
Okay, so if you got a Blu-ray player installed in your PC, it will play that now.
Yeah, you can now play Blu-ray. And if you were using it in a media center for a playback device or something like that.
So what's the advantage of using this over Windows Media Center or Media Player?
That's open source.
Okay. So if you're one of those kind of guys that likes to stick it to the man.
Yeah. If you're not a fan of, say, Media Center or Windows
Media Player.
Windows Media Player.
Yeah.
Then it's an alternative, and it's fairly lightweight.
Not to contradict on this though, but
yeah,
Windows Media Player has always been okay for me. Has there been problems in the past? Is it? Do either one of you guys have you ever been? I mean, I use Media Center now for a lot of stuff. Like I watch my recorded TV using Media Center. I'm using Media Browser now. Rich O'Neill kind of got me hooked on Media Browser, and so I ripped a few movies and I've been watching those via Media Center. And I always found that Windows Media Center was actually a really good music organizing, especially some of the newer versions of it. It did a lot better job of organizing my music and finding album art and stuff like that than iTunes. Certainly, it was better than iTunes. I don't know, Mike.
Everything's better than iTunes.
Yeah, but yeah. Mike, have you had, as a media player, are you a Zune guy, or do you use Windows Media Center, or what do you use?
Yeah, we're probably different than most other people. So if I want to listen to music, I generally just use Pandora. I have Pandora on the phone, and I can plug that into my truck if I'm driving around. At home, we have Pandora on the TiVos and on the Xbox, and it can just, I think, do we have Pandora on the Xbox? Maybe we don't. I know we have it on the TiVo, and we can just play it on there. And that's how we listen to music. As far as movies, if I'm gonna, we generally rent one and rent it through the Zoom Marketplace on Xbox.
Oh, okay.
And that is fantastic. It's a little expensive, but the movie quality is fantastic.
Is that like $4 a movie or something like that?
It depends. It's like 495 Xbox points, or
okay, yeah,
with a conversion rate.
Yeah, the magic of Xbox points, right?
Yeah, or if we're going to, we also have a Netflix, so we might do that. Although I don't do that too often.
Sure.
And then the TiVo, of course, records regular TV.
Right. Okay. Rennie mentions that codec support. Rennie, I assume you're meaning that the VLC has more codec support than those other players do? Andrew, is that your assumption?
Yeah, it has more native codec support.
Yeah, the codec was, for the average user, the codec is kind of still a mystery to what that means, And
it seems like with music, everything's settled on MP3.
Right.
It is now simple for the average person. With video, it's, God, even the same DivX file can have umpteen different settings that you can't play it. You can never be guaranteed it'll play. And I'm sure there's no I don't know why it won't settle on like a standardization like the MP3 did.
MPEG 4 or what. I'm sure it's because of the various snobbish approaches to video quality, right?
Yeah.
People get pretty good. VLC also video, right, Andrew?
Yeah, video and audio. Well, pretty much plays everything.
Pretty much anything and everything.
Yeah, from my perspective, the biggest bugbear with the Microsoft products is having to put a third-party codec on them. So I've found, Matroska format or one of, the various DivX containers. It's, you always end up having to put a third-party codec on it to make it play your content back.
DivX is a format.
Yeah.
In video. Okay. Yeah, this tells you how little I care about video. I mean, I don't really. I mean, I know there's different extensions and different types and stuff, but I play DVDs. I watch YouTube. I don't know. I haven't got into the codecs mix-up, I guess, with any of those things. I don't really get it.
Yeah, I guess so. You've been lucky.
Yeah, well, I'm the average guy, right? I mean, I play videos. That's what most folks do, is they play videos. I remember in the Windows XP days when they didn't have the DVD codecs, whatever that was, and so you had to have the special third-party crap. And so I do remember how bad that was to make that work, especially if you were really reloading XP from scratch. And then you would have to load, right? You'd have to load some kind of software that had the codecs in it so you could watch it. I never did understand why. That was so dumb. And I know why. There was some licensing issues with Microsoft, and they didn't want to pay and some of that other stuff. But, being the average guy, I didn't mess around video that much. Mike, I know. Have you learned more about video, Mike, now that you're producing your podcast in 3 different video formats?
2 different video.
Oh, okay. 2 different.
Nothing really that I didn't already know. I did get a different video editor because I didn't like, was it Premiere Elements, which is their Adobe's lighter version of the full version of Elements. I didn't like that when I was having trouble with it, and I've learned a little bit, but not much. I use Handbrake for the final thing, and I finally got that worked out. Handbrake has so many settings. And that's if you're wanting to encode it. You got a video you want to encode. Handbrake has a crazy number of settings. But I didn't get into all the codecs and all that. I don't fully understand all those things.
Yeah. All right, VLC updated 2.0. Now, Andrew, you said the Mac is where the appearance changes. It doesn't change much on the Windows side?
Nah, the Windows one doesn't really change at all.
Yeah.
It's just a bit more functionality in it.
Yeah. Well, maybe they don't see a reason to change the GUI if it's working, right? If
Yeah,
it's
that's
not broken, don't fix it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair call too. Yeah.
Did you end up buying those kayaks that you were talking about?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We bought a couple of Hobie pedal kayaks with the that you can pedal and paddle.
Pedal and
so-
paddle.
Yeah, so they've got
They got a little thing on the back.
Yeah, so this has got a this is sort of average guy tech. They've got it's going to be visual for the people watching.
Well, here, do
So-
this. Can you bring up you can bring it up and share your screen. We can see it.
Yeah, okay. Where
How
are we?
about that? How about that average guy tech?
There you go.
Well, no, because I don't have I don't have video of it, so I need to do it with my hands.
So do your hands first.
So-
Go.
This is even more average guy tech.
Yeah. So, which let's get my sequencing right. So you got a couple of fins that come down under your kayak like that, and when you pedal, they flap back and forward like this.
Okay.
And the leading edge of the edge that points towards the front of the kayak has a spine down it, and so as you pedal, and you're going like this, it works like a propeller or like a penguin's wing, as they call it.
Yeah, and so it's flexible. Is the rudder? I mean, is the
So it's a light rubber fin, and so you pedal it like you would a push bike, except you're not going around, you're just going back and forward.
right?
And average guy tech, and
That's
and
not not all that high tech, right? I mean, that's just kind of foot pedals.
yeah. But but you're not turning a propeller or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's someone else's view of, or someone else's way of looking at a technology to take something that used to be arduous, sitting and paddling a kayak with a paddle, to sitting there and just pedaling, and you can fish and whatnot while
Is
you.
pedaling more efficient than paddling?
Oh yeah, it's heaps faster.
Really? All
Yeah.
right.
And you can pedal for probably 4 or 5 hours without getting worn out. Whereas if you were paddling with a double-ended paddle for 4 or 5 hours, you wouldn't be able to lift your arms.
Right. Yeah. So looking for a camera for your kayak, I take it.
Yeah, I have been. I've been looking at cameras like the GoPro and there's another one called the Stealth HD. So your sort of sports style camera, something that's waterproof and bit shockproof, and a lot of the guys who fish a lot are out there videoing pretty much everything they do. So if they get onto a big fish while they're fishing, they've got the ability to record the fight and
Right.
and then they're away. So what as I started looking around, I came across a website called camerasize.com, and this is probably one for Mike as well. So camerasize.com gives you a comparison of your popular digital cameras on the market compared to, say, the size of someone's hand, or another camera that you're probably more familiar with, or even down to a AA cell battery. So it's just a really nice way of being able to compare.
Yeah, that's
What a machine's what a camera's
relative
size is relative to, say, a camera you've already got, or even down to the AA cell.
Mike, on JPEG to RAW, do you guys spend much time talking about point and shoot?
We don't. We spent a little bit of time talking about the camera itself, just to kind of know what the person's shooting, but we talk more about the how the person shoots and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think we would be more interested in, even if you're in a point and shoot, getting you off of auto mode. You can do a lot with a point and shoot if you're willing to learn it. I think that the general thing you find with people who use a point and shoot is they want to just point and shoot, but a lot of them will do more than that.
Mm-hmm. Are there point and shoots that'll do HDR?
HDR video? I believe so.
No,
yeah.
well, no HDR. So the picture, right? I mean, am I using the right term?
Oh, yeah. HDR. HDR is just multiple images at different exposures blended together. So you can do that with a point and shoot.
Okay.
The thing with a point and shoot is as Andrew was pointing out, and as I'm looking at this thing here, is the sensor inside of it, and the sensor inside of your phone too, is extremely small.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear so many people talk about iPhone this, iPhone that. I don't quite understand that because there's more other phones than there are iPhones, and some of them have, like yours there has a better camera than the iPhone, but everybody talks about the iPhone. But in those cameras, even though it may be 8 megapixel or whatever it is, the sensor inside of there is super small.
Right.
Yeah, super tiny. Yeah.
So and that leads itself to a lot of disadvantages where when you have a big size, either full frame or even a crop frame in a SLR, it is just massive compared to that thing. And therefore it's better at high ISO. It creates better depth of field. And I don't want to get into all that here, but it's just it has a lot of advantages over that that smaller sensor. I mean, the advantage of this is you can have it everywhere you go.
Right.
So there's a saying that the best camera is the camera you have with you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I heard somebody say, I'll get off topic here for just a second. The other day they said, there's so many more things we could do with our camera phones besides just take pictures. I mean, take pictures of like scenery or people or stuff. And somebody said, like, so if you need to remember where you're parked, like take a picture of your car where it's parked. And then, what takes, pull it out, camera, bam, take a picture. It's there, right? It's recorded.
But you know what your car looks like.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's for the really old people going into the grocery store, coming back out, not remembering. Do I have a Lincoln? Do I have a Lincoln or a Cadillac?
But it's the context around the car. But so I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and so if I wanted to remember, like I was writing something down the other day, and I could, instead of writing it down, I could just take it like somebody's door number, or a phone number or something like that. I just take a picture, and then it's in my phone, and I can always go back and reference that. And I don't know if we necessarily use our phones for that. We think it's got to be taking pictures of lakes and trees and people.
Yeah.
When it can just be stuff we need to remember.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to record. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, Andrew, this camerasize.com, how would you? So it measures, or it shows you or compares sizes of cameras. How's that useful?
Yeah.
How do you?
Well,
find
for me, I was going to find it. I found it useful for comparing sizes. For say, if I wanted to get a waterproof point and shoot camera. But it's something that I wanted to say buy based on review. If it was something I was going to buy, say from Bell and Howe Photo in the States, or B&H Photo, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, B&H.
So for B&H, so I can look at, say, the new Nikon Coolpix AW100, which I haven't seen in a shop in Australia yet, and then I can take my Canon EOS 40D, and I can put them side by side, and it'll show me the relative size difference between the two cameras, as well as the weights and how much thinner the Coolpix is over the Canon and the like. So I get without having to actually go into a store and
Sure.
look and feel.
Do you get 3D of that as well? Can you see 3D?
Yeah. So you can, depending on the camera, you can sort of look around it. So you can look at it front on, you can look at it sideways, or you can look at the back of it. And then you can superimpose them on top of each other. So say I can take a small point and shoot and stick it over the top of the image of the digital SLR to give me the real comparison if I was actually going to hold it.
Huh.
Which is kind of nice as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I got two cameras up that I'm comparing.
And that's not just point and shoot stuff. Can you do the SLRs on there?
I got two SLRs pulled up. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Mike, share your screen there real quick. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. Hold on.
Show me what you're looking at.
There we go.
All right,
Okay.
that'll adjust. All right.
So you got right here, you have the new Nikon D800, which is one of the things I had to talk about. And over here you have a Nikon D40. Both of these are actually SLRs, just to give you an idea. And for me, I currently have something that's more similar to this.
Oh, wow. That's a monster.
And it's mainly because of the vertical grips built in. But yeah, you get that example, and you want to pull up a. Let me pull up a point and shoot. What's a good point and shoot there, Andrew? Where's the Panasonic?
Oh, grabbed a call real quick.
Oh, Panasonic Luminex. Here, I think my.
Oh, wow.
So there, that gives you an idea of, and it even has a battery. So there's a battery. Here's a little point and shoot that will probably fit in your pocket. And there's that other camera. And remember, the camera I did have pulled up was much bigger than this one.
Yeah.
So it gives you some different sizes you can see.
That's kind of nice. You can kind of compare that way. Does it give any 3D images on there? Can you click on that? And
I did. When I clicked on it, I didn't see I could move it around, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if
this reminds me of that Mustang site with Ford where you could build your own custom Mustang.
Yeah.
And here you can kind of compare these cameras. That's a good image, even across Google Plus. That's a good looking image.
Yeah, the quality that I'm seeing, and it looks like what y'all see in Google Plus here. Maybe not in chat because we're having to restream it.
Right.
But the quality looks excellent.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good. That's a kind of a cool site.
And I like how they included the battery. It gives you more perspective. A AA battery.
Yeah. Now, Mike, do you like a bigger camera from a holding standpoint?
Let me go back to that other one. And this is one of the ones I was looking at getting. And you go, wow, that's just massive.
Gosh. Yeah.
But what I do love about it is this built-in grip down here. And what that does is gives you a vertical shutter and all the command dials.
Right.
And yes, I do love that. Now,
so that you can turn the camera and all those same buttons are there in the right spot. Is that right?
Now, absolutely, yeah. And what you can do with this smaller one is you can add on a vertical grip. The funny thing is, once you add on that vertical grip, it actually makes it slightly larger than this one. But an add-on grip never feels quite the same as a true built-in grip. It's just not as good.
And is that larger one going to be more expensive than the smaller one?
In this case, it is. It doesn't always have to be, but in this case, and this is the D3S. It's about to be replaced with the D4. That is about a $6,000+ camera.
6,000?
6,000.
Wowza! Now you're going to talk about the Nikon D4.
And the D800.
Yeah. Those are new cameras on the market?
Yeah, the one I have right now is a D3S. So they have a D4. It's going to look exactly like the other one, pretty much. So there's the D4 and the D800. Both of them are they're not on the market yet. They're not announced, but they are.
But they're on the site.
They're on the site. Yeah, there's previews, and there's not full review of these cameras, but there's some previews of them. So anyway.
So if you're listening to the recorded version of this, by the way, which most of you do, pop over to, it depends when I get this done, but pop over to theaverageguy.tv/live, and we'll have the video out there running so you can come and see these cameras and see this work.
Yeah, you have the recorded shows underneath there. You could always go to that too, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
For the video, if you need the video.
Right, if you want to go back and get the video. Yeah, we did a teardown, like on the home service show, we did a teardown of the HP ProLiant, the N40L microservers. And so we keep those out at homeservershow.com as well. Yeah, you know what I like? That Google Plus automatically, when you shared your screen, it automatically kept that in focus.
It did
while we were talking. That's a nice feature. With the exception, we were talking about this off show with Google Hangout, with the exception of the automatic adjustment of the audio that Google does in Windows. It's it's a perfect podcasting application.
It is excellent. Yes.
Yeah. We've
stopped using Skype altogether for this. I think.
Yeah, and I canceled my Skype group. We paid $100 for the group feature on Skype, and I just stopped that.
Yeah,
we're Google all the time now.
The only thing keeping me leaving it is I have family members, and that's how we sometimes get into a group. If I can convince them all to get into Google Plus, then we wouldn't even need that. What we do for guests, we've had 2 guests so far that did not have Google Plus and was not interested in signing up. I actually created another account, a guest account.
Yeah,
and I just give them that
with JPEG. So does it like guest@jpegdura.com? Do you have a Google email? Yeah,
it's like that.
I need to do that too.
And then we can just have them use that if they don't have their own.
yeah, I need like guest 1 and guest 2, and then we could use that for Spartan Radio as well. Anything else, Mike, that you wanted to mention on, or maybe I should ask this first, Andrew? Anything else you wanted to mention on camerasize.com?
No, I'm all good. Although I do need to jump off because we've just had a high severity incident hit the fan at work. So
okay, well, good to have you over your lunch break, or at this point, maybe in the afternoon. And Andrew, thanks for jumping in. Mike and we just got about 10 minutes left anyway, so we'll cut you loose, and I'll talk to you this weekend.
Bye,
all right,
Andrew.
guys.
Thanks,
See ya.
Andrew. Have a good weekend.
All right, bye.
See ya. Bye.
You too. Bye.
I did have, before we got into any other camera stuff, I had some tack for the average guy. This is we're going to go way average. This is this would even apply to if any of my JPEG to RAW people are still out there. Be good for them. So my wife has, we have multiple PCs around the house. So my wife has Windows 7 machine, Windows 7 Ultimate. It is in a decent box. It is also located inside of her desk. But I got the back side of the desk open so the airflow goes through there, and she never closed the door to that. So it gets decent airflow. Well, she was saying, I don't know what happened. It just all of a sudden crashed, and come look at it. And we had a blue screen of death there. And it's like, I have never, even with XP, never had that. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
So just reboot. Let's see if it happens again. Well, the next couple of days, it happened again. So I said, well, you must have some hardware that's failing somewhere. Maybe it's the memory going out or something like that. I don't see any issues. I looked at her software, didn't see any issues. And then it hit me. Let me just take a look at the box itself. And I generally every month, every 2 months, and actually every time when I vacuum, I suck out the dust out of the front and the sides of the computer. And then about every couple of months, I open them up and spray the dust out. But I hadn't done it in hers in a little bit. So I sat there with it in the the boot up screen, the CMOS screen, the BIOS, whatever. And I watched the
post, I think is what they call that.
I watched the temperature, and the temperature started off at, let's say, 114, 115, 116, got up to 140, and was continuing to climb on the CPU. And I don't know where it hits that it's a problem, but it just kept going. And I said, okay, that's not right. So I sucked out all the dust, blew it out and did all that stuff, all the dust, and the temperature immediately dropped to like 110, and she has not had an issue since.
Yeah, that really does highlight the importance of keeping your PC clean, doesn't it?
Even if you're just taking a vacuum cleaner and sucking out the dust around the edges, if you have good ventilation systems, it also means it's probably picking up more dust than an average system. Yeah. And if you got to dust those out every once in a while.
Yeah. I've taken to my leaf vac. I've said this before on the show, but I take it out in the garage, open the garage door, even in the winter, turn on my leaf vac. I get a good distance away from it.
Yeah.
But, and one time I hit that thing. Let's see, which PC was it? I brought it in from somewhere because, I fix everybody's PCs. So the first thing I do is just blow that thing out because I don't want to get sick from all that dust that's inside that thing. And I hit that thing, and Mike, a cloud. I mean, it was just a cloud of dust came out of this PC. And people forget, depending on the processor, especially if you have an old school heat sink that doesn't have a fan on it, those things become just dust magnets. And then, of course, they cannot cool properly with all that dust inside it. And so the leaf vac, or the leaf blower in this case, just clouds of dust come out. And it is such a satisfying feeling to see all that dust getting blown out. I used to blow that stuff out in the house and then wonder why 3 days later there's crap all over my desk.
Well, what I do is I have the vacuum on one side and I have the compressed air on the other side, and just squirt the two and have it just suck into the thing. Your way is better. That's not as messy and maybe getting more. But the thing I think was happening with hers is that the temperature just continued to climb and climb and climb, because as I watched it, it was continuing to go up. So who knows how high it finally got up whenever she was regularly, running normally, and maybe that was the cause. And I can't be for sure, but I know that ever since I did it, she hasn't had that happen again. Now, once I blew out all the dust, the temperature stayed solid. It never moved. because all we're doing is sitting in CMOS.
Right.
I mean, come on, there's no load on the CPU at all.
Right.
BIOS or whatever it is. I'm sitting in post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's a good catch. It's rare to see Windows 7 blue screen, but it will if you overheat your CPU. Yeah,
and every operating system, no operating system is immune to hardware failure.
Right. Yeah. Good catch.
Well, that's my average guy. That's
nice.
That's something everybody needs to think about. Is I'm sure most of your listeners already know that, but the average person probably doesn't know. Pay attention to that dust.
No, it's a nice tip, and because I work on a lot of people's computers, nobody ever cleans their computer out. It's just you get them. You know the deal, Mike. You've helped people, right? You've fixed computers.
You find dead bugs all in there.
Oh my gosh! It's like, come on, people, just blow that thing out every once in a while. It's like changing your furnace filter. I mean, you got to do that more than once a year. And so it's I've struggled. Where do you currently keep your PCs? So there in the office, you've got two PCs, right? You got a studio PC and a broadcast PC. Yep. Where physically are they in your room there? Are they on the ground? Or are they up above?
The broadcast server's on the ground. The studio PC's up on a desk.
Do you find that if it's on the ground, and particularly if it's on carpet, that it collects dust faster?
Yeah, and I have the Antec 900 case, which has two big fans in the front blowing over the hard drives. Mm-hmm. Absolutely wonderful. Those hard drives never get hot.
Right.
But it sucks in a lot of dust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that same case.
Yeah.
And I've put it up. I have it on the floor too, right by my feet, which is just even more horrific because you never see this, but every time you stomp on your carpet, dust comes up. Right. And that just gets pulled right in your case. And the thing
I wonder about is those dead bugs in there. Is that you see that is it's not unusual to find dead bugs in there. You can find a roach in there. You may not think you have any bugs in your house, and there's 3 roaches inside of your computer. What the heck? And no telling what kind of damage they could have caused. You got jammed into one of your fans or something.
Right. Now that would be great. That would be great to see a roach jammed in the fan.
I guess it would. Yeah, I guess it would break. The roach would break all up.
Yeah, that Antec 900 has a big 120 millimeter whatever fan on the top, right?
It does.
Yep. Yeah, I broke that fan, by the way. I turned it on, and it's got those switches on the inside. There's little, and it got caught in the fan and just broke one of the blades, and now that thing is unbalanced, and so it shakes horribly, and I just had to shut it off.
I love that case so much. I built my mom's case computer with that. Both my sons have that one. I have that one on my broadcast server, and my Windows storage server machine uses that one.
What's that retail?
I don't know. I got them on the sale. Every time they ran a sale on it, I went out and bought one for a while until I got enough that I wanted. But I was going to say that my sons did the same as yours. He said, Dad, come in here. Something's going on. I run in there, and his computer is rocking back and forth.
Yeah.
I said, what the heck? Turn it off. And it was the fan. One of the blades had broken off.
Yeah. And the one drawback to that Antec 900 case is you can't get that big fan out of there.
You can't?
I haven't figured out how to do it. So my kids couldn't figure out how to do it. I mean, they tried to pull the fan out, and it's fairly well molded into the case. I mean, we took some things off and looked from underneath and down on top and could not figure. So if anybody's listening and they know how to get that big fan out of, I wouldn't mind replacing it. It would look great in there as a big fluorescent light, that shines up. Yeah. That would look sharp. So if anybody figures out on the Antec 900 case how to get that top case fan out, let me know, because mine's broken and I just haven't had the time to figure it out. But my kids are pretty savvy, and they didn't figure it out either.
Yeah, I looked from underneath and I said, okay, that's not the way to go. And I hadn't tried it yet, but I just assumed, okay, you must come in from the top. You must take the plastic top off, and then it must be removable from there. But so you're saying you don't think it is?
Doesn't look like it. It looks like that top is on there permanently. The machine kind of cased it or creased it on there. And I don't know. Maybe there's a way off. If somebody Jazzer J just put from Tom's Hardware. Let's take a look at this. So we'll copy this.
That's a 200 millimeter. I thought is that a 200 millimeter up there?
Must be. It's a gigantic fan. Let's take a peek. My audio's
Yeah, you know that's right. It can't be the 120s because I think the 120s are the.
There it goes.
See, that's what Jazzer J is showing there is where you take the top off and then it looks like the fan just comes out.
Yeah.
That's what I was
okay.
thinking.
All right. So there must be some screws we were missing or something.
That's good to know. Thanks,
Jay. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Jay. That'll help. I'll need to. I'll take a peek at that. Because that is a really good case, and it is a little big.
It is a little big, but
I don't need 6 drive bays.
You never know.
Yeah.
It's compared to my Norco 4020 with 20 bays. It's small.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Very true. It does come with a lot of screws. When you get that thing, it's got a whole bag full of screws.
Yeah.
And I think in that case, it's got 6 drive bays, and I've got an SSD in there. Yeah, one drive in there, SSD, and all that stuff sits empty now because I'm doing offsite. I'm doing saving off to the Drobo or that stuff. So, well, Mike, anything else you really wanted to cover? We're coming up on the top of the hour.
We talked a little bit about the D800, the D4.
Yeah.
I personally am really looking hard at getting that Nikon D800. To afford it, I'm gonna have to sell some of my old cameras, which you might be able to see some of them back there. If I get this camera, why do I need those old cameras? So I just got to get myself to sell some of them. The advantage to the Nikon D800, it does break new ground as far as megapixels. It is 36.
Oh, good heavens!
36.4 megapixels, absolutely humongous. It is what that's called a full frame camera. So a lot of your DSLRs up till recently have been a crop where they don't take a full 35 millimeter style picture. This one is a full frame, and the Nikon's had a few full frames, and Canon does too. But the full frames all have a crop mode where you can shoot in a reduced mode that allows you to shoot faster or use lenses that you couldn't use otherwise. The camera before this one, the D700, when you went to the crop mode, it dropped from 12 megapixels down to, I think, 6. In this case, this 36 megapixel camera, when you shoot in crop sensor mode, it drops to 15. So even in crop sensor mode, it is still, a lot of megapixels.
That's a lot.
That is
those are big raw files.
70, I think, what was it, 76 meg? Is that right? Yeah, 76 meg per file in RAW.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. So, what you have to do is, what type of shooting you're going to do. If you're going to be a sports shooter, you probably don't want to shoot in full 36 megapixel. You might go with something else. The other thing it adds is, almost any SLR these days has got to have video. So this one has 1080p video. From what I've seen, it looks absolutely incredible. And it does 30 frames per second at the full resolution, and I believe it'll do 60 frames per second in the crop mode.
And 60 frames per second.
Yeah. In video.
Wow. How does that? Wasn't there a Mark II, a D Mark II? No.
Yep.
Is that
something like that? Yeah. Canon up until this, Canon has had Nikon. Has been better than Nikon with SLR video. I think the thinking is the Nikon D800 and the D4. The D4 is the big brother. It's the $6,000 camera. Both of them put Nikon either on par or ahead of Canon as far as video goes.
Okay, so that's them catching up. That's Nikon catching up. And you're a Nikon guy, right?
I am a Nikon guy, yes.
Okay.
The Nikon has also had the lead for a while in noise. For a while, Canon was killing Nikon. Nikon now has had the advantage of noise. What that is when you shoot in low light and you've bumped up the sensitivity of the sensor, the amount of grain you see in the image.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Nikon is much better at that than Canon right now.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. The other news I had is CS6, Photoshop CS6 is getting closer and closer to coming out. And I was just looking at a video, got it here in the show notes, is they are making better use of the graphics card in this next version. So, Yeah, I listened to Gary a couple shows ago, and he was talking about PCs have really maxed out. There's no need for speed increase, something like that. I'm
Right.
generalizing.
Yeah, yeah,
And while I was listening to that, I was saying, no, no, they have
yeah.
not. You know,
Yeah.
PCs are need a lot more power for people. Somebody like me who's doing Photoshop and Lightroom, and eventually I'm going to be dealing with much larger images with this D800, and I'm going to be dealing with video from these things. PCs need to increase by a factor of 10,
Hmm.
before I would say we hit some kind of limit, and by then who knows what. So we're nowhere near the speed that we need to be at. But with things like this, with Photoshop CS6 making better use of the video card, it really makes a humongous difference.
Yeah.
In that link, they show you using the liquify tool in Photoshop to edit something, and it is a dramatic difference in the speed between CS5 and CS6.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, the video card, that whole, I mean, it has gone nuts. While seems like the CPUs have kind of come to a crawl, and not really. They still continue to make huge improvements on the CPU. It's just not like as big as it used to be.
Yeah.
It's like hard drive size. When we go from 2 to 3, that's huge. There's a lot of space in there, but it's like, it's just 2 to 3, terabytes.
Yeah.
But the speeds of the video cards continue to pick up.
I often wonder. We got that, like in my system here, I got a nice fast video card, and unless I'm playing like heavy games, it can't be taxed for what we're doing right now.
No.
Right, even right here, or even in Photoshop or Lightroom, or in Quicken or whatever you're doing.
Right.
I can't imagine that the video card. It's got to be half sleeping.
Yeah.
So you got all this untapped, massive amount of power that in some ways is faster than your CPU, and I wish they would tap into it a lot more.
Sure.
And it looks like that's something here Photoshop is doing, but even it still looks like they're doing it with just this one tool. Dude, take more advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, for sure. And of course, video. If you look at the Xbox, it is all video. I mean, there's 3. That's 3 video cards put together inside the Xbox. That's to run that thing. So
and I wonder if that's what's given it its long life, because I play Xbox almost daily. I didn't today because somebody kept me up late, but I play Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, quite often, and the video is excellent. How old is the Xbox?
Yeah.
It's held up over time.
It has, and they continue to make improvements and slight upgrades to the boxes as they come out. But from day one, I mean, that was 3 pretty beefy. My understanding is that was 3 pretty beefy video cards. That's not really. I mean, the architecture is a little bit different than that. I'm oversimplifying it, but so it's amazing where that has gone. I remember. I mean, for the longest time, I remember when 64 meg video card was huge.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay attention for the longest time, and all of a sudden they were coming out with a gig, and now 2 gig cards, and that with fast DDR3 memory on it. And I don't want to talk about this too long, Mike, but I was reading an article the other day about SSD drives, because since I put an SSD drive in my PC recently, I've been talking a lot about it. And SSD is actually a technology that, as it gets smaller, it gets less efficient, not more.
Really?
Yeah, and so they're kind of concerned on now with NAND memory on SSDs that it's. I don't want to say they've maxed out the efficiency of it, but based on current technology, if they take it to the next nanometer down, I think it's a 0.45 or something like that now. If they go to the next one down, it actually goes slower, not faster, because there's some inefficiencies in the way it has to handle the memory as it gets smaller. So they're like, the normal model has been smaller and faster, and they're actually going to have to rethink some of their philosophy in the hard drive space and the SSD space, or change over to a new technology.
Yeah, what has your experience been with? I still don't trust the SSD as much as I do with Spindle.
It's been fine. I like I've had a great experience with my SSD. In fact, I forget it's there now, and it's just fast. It boots 4 seconds. I mean, I'm in. But I haven't had I've had no integrity issues with it since I've had it over the last couple months.
Well, me, I'm an anti-booter, and ever since I got the SSD, I'm not so much I don't care. I rebooted twice today.
Right. Yeah, because it's just so fast.
Yeah, because I was having an issue with the stupid Epson scanner, and
Right.
the stupid should be stupid me, not the stupid scanner. But I just I'll just reboot, and because of the SSD, it's so fast.
Yeah, no, it's at least for me, it's been worth it. Here's another one more average guy tip, and I talked a little bit about last night on the home server show, but my daughter has a net top, and it's got a little Atom 440 or something like that in there, 450, whatever it is, and it's horribly slow, and it just came with a gig of RAM, and the board only supports 2 gig to begin with. So
Mhm.
I looked up online, I could buy 2 gig for 25 or 30 bucks, whatever. And oh, there's Dave. Dave's in chat. Hey, Dave. So it's funny I mentioned the home server show and Dave pops in.
He has an alert that anytime he hears that somewhere, boom.
He must. So I could have bought 25 a 2 gig stick and throw that in there, but I didn't think with Windows 7 I'd get that much of an improvement in speed. So I bought her a little stub nose, I think is what I'm looking for. 4 gig USB, no, it's USB 2, memory stick, USB stick. And I threw that in there. And then I used this old Vista technology called ReadyBoost, which we have not, it's still in Windows 7, but nobody uses it anymore because memory is so plentiful.
Yeah.
But for the average guy, maybe who has, maybe their motherboard doesn't support whatever, or these old netbooks, threw that in there, turned on ReadyBoost, said, don't ever remove this thing. And now it writes to the USB 2 drive instead of writing to this really slow. Now if I changed out the hard drive to SSD, it'd go even faster, but still it runs. So she got an improvement in speed, and I bought that 4 gig USB memory stick, $6 at Best Buy.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Isn't that crazy?
I was running ReadyBoost on a couple of machines too, and it did seem to make a little bit of a difference.
A little bit.
In my machine now, I have 16 gigs. So
right. Yeah, we don't even think about it with Windows 7. We don't even think about twice. We don't even think twice about it, especially as we've moved into the 64-bit era, where you can have these gigantic memory amounts. Yeah.
And, you're talking about cheap little memory cards or flash drives. I wanted one for my truck that I can fit about 16 gig on, but it needed to be small because the place where my USB drive in the truck is close to the cup holder. Right. So when I had a normal size one that was several inches, it stuck into the cup holder area. So I want a small one. I found one that is literally this tiny.
Right.
When I stick it in, it is barely a little bit of it sticking out that you almost have to use your fingernail to pull it back out.
Yeah.
And it's 16 gig.
Isn't that crazy?
And so when somebody says how many CD changers, how much your CD, how much of a changer is that? I said, who cares? I got a 27 CD changer right here in this USB stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife, when we were going around driving for Christmas, my wife says, do you have any Christmas music? I said, yeah, just pull to the folder. I've got, a couple hundred Christmas songs here. Which type do you want?
That is nice on those Christmas. Mine's an 06, and it was just kind of before they were putting USB in cars. So I've got an aux in, at least have an aux in, but it doesn't have USB. Is your USB okay? So your USB is visible, right? I know for a while they were putting them in the glove box.
No, mine's visible. And somehow Dave thinks I'm on a Mac.
Yeah, he says you're on a Mac. That's what.
He says my video is perfect.
Yeah, your video is good. Mine, for whatever reason, I'm using this Microsoft Live Cam 4000, and it was supposed to be pretty good, but I think it's the PC that's driving it.
So let me show Dave something. So one of the things, I guess, since I do a photo show, I need to have decent light, right? Is my light okay?
Yeah, your light's great. Mine's horrible.
Dave, is my light okay?
Fluorescent.
So let me just show you. I have a umbrella, a shoot-through umbrella, providing the light on me, so it should be a decent amount of light.
Good and warm. I'm straight fluorescent coming right off.
Good and warm. You know what's in there? A bunch of LED lights. No warmth at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the umbrella makes a change, right?
The umbrella diffuses the light and makes the light more even. So it's not.
I got to do that. I think I'm going to wrap this. I've got like a barn fluorescent light up there. That's just I'm in the basement. That's crappy. But if I wrap that thing in a little towel or something, in it with a little diffuser in there, that would would diffuse that light some probably. I haven't seen the sun in a month.
I just went to Lowe's and bought some $9, whatever they are, clamp-on LED lights with a flexible arm to them, and just clamp them onto that umbrella.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good
And
idea.
I got it all on a surge protector, and I just flip the switch and it's on. So
Nice.
flip the other switch and it's off.
You are a pro, Mike Howard.
We're learning new stuff every day.
I need to pay more attention to it, but I'm a little more utilitarian. I kind of I was doing this podcasting before we had video, and it didn't matter, and I have not made the jump as quick to it. Well, we've gone a little over. In fact, we've gone a lot over. Mike, thanks for staying up past midnight to hang out and podcast with us tonight. I want to thank Andrew Morris for coming out this evening. He had to jump off and take care of an emergency at work. And Andrew, thanks for doing that. We'll drop this into the Dropbox, and Andrew will do the notes. We'll have it out sometime this weekend. Thanks to the 7, 8, 9, 10 of you guys who came out and chat tonight on a late podcast. Hope to get, although I think next week I'm going to have to go late again. I just got a nuts schedule coming up. But hopefully we'll get back on track here as the spring progresses into the summer, and get the Home Tech Podcast back into a rhythm of 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Do you want to say something?
And if anybody's still left from JPEG to RAW out there, don't forget our special giveaway next week. You have to be in the live show to get it.
All right. I'll have to show up next Tuesday live to see if I can snag it.
And the Lightroom 3 giveaway, too. Yeah. Don't forget about that.
Get out there. JPEG to RAW.
JPEG.com.
All right, I remind folks, if they have questions, they can send me an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. You can follow me on Twitter @jcollison. Mike, you are at JPEG to RAW. That's pretty easy. Andrew is at Unreal Shots. If you want to get a hold of him, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us out at Facebook. Just search theaverageguy.tv, and I'm back in Facebook. So if you have any questions, if you got any questions that you want to post out there, we've got a Facebook group as well. You can do that, and love to have you out there. Mike, thanks again for coming out, and we'll do it again next Thursday. Have a good night.
Yep, thanks, guys. We're hanging out for a second, right?
Yeah, we're out.
Okay.
Dave.
Clap. Dude, you type really fast.
That would have to be fast. Must be cut and paste.
It must be cut and paste.
What's the honor of having Dave McCabe out here in chat so late?
Thanks, Rennie. Thanks, Jazzer J, for coming out.
Yeah, always good to have you.
I thought I saw Die Hard out there for a little while.
Really?
Yeah. It was earlier on. I saw Die Hard out there. Just slumming. He's just slumming.
Yeah. Slumming around with us.
Now, Dave, I know Dave has made a number of my shows, right, Dave? You come to watch a number of my shows. I know Rennie has. Not sure if Jazzer J has. So, Dave, what was your favorite guest of all my guests that you've come to watch?
He's kind of a photography guy, isn't he?
He is. He's a photography guy. He's taking photos now with his. I think he has Nikon D3000, if I remember right. But you got to come watch one of our shows sometime, Dave. Every Tuesday night. No, yeah, the 3100. No bracketing. You have to do it manual mode. We can teach you how to do that on the show.
And if you win Lightroom, they'll do a 2-hour,
1 hour.
They'll do a 4-hour,
1 hour
personalized where Mike will fly to your location.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, Dave, if you win the Lightroom 3 giveaway, you get an hour in Google Hangout with Tim and I to help you through it. You have it. Okay.
I'd go really. No, I couldn't use Lightroom. I wouldn't use that enough. I did have Andrew got me a copy of not Symphony but Audition. And then when I did SSD, I never reinstalled it. And I really need it. We were talking about this last night on the show. I really need to get away from Audacity. It's just a piece of crap.
Really? I like it.
It does something funky for me, and maybe I don't have the setting right. Maybe some weekend you and I should go through the... Here's the problem. Here's the real problem. I'm just too lazy
You and I
know,
need to have another session where we just brainstorming session.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know you don't like, maybe you don't need XSplit. I've told you this a number of times. I love it. Instead of using Procaster.
Yeah. Well, the problem is my audio comes out sounding a little washy for some reason, and I can't figure out exactly why. It should be crisp and clear. It's almost like the lame encoder isn't working right, and it's never really worked right for me. And Dave knows a lot about audio. I just have not been picky enough about my audio to care. I just produce podcasts, cut the ends off, throw some music on, and called it good. He totally dropped lame. So
maybe I need to pay more attention to mine. Maybe mine's not as good as I think it is. But I know I do like XSplit as far as the broadcast software. You saw how I was able to go back and forth between the feed and the video, the photos, and
oh yeah, no, it's great for what you do.
for what I do. Yeah, you may not need it. XSplit, Dave, is instead of using Procaster to broadcast the stream, you use XSplit, and you can have, was it 12? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 12 different things set up to pull from different areas of the screen and slideshows, video feeds, that kind of stuff. I also have a show opening and closing. I just hit a button and it does the opening and it does the closing. And
music. That's what Dave's looking for. You need to talk to Dave because he's trying to do that with the home server show.
Here's the other thing that I really liked about it was I have it set up for 2 different live stream accounts. The normal one that you see, and I set up another live stream account for mobile, and I have Justin TV. So I can, with the couple of clicks of the button, I just go live on Justin TV or live on live stream, or I can do live both of them at the same time.
Oh, you're making me look bad, Howard. Dave's going to want me to do that.
And Jim and I looked at a number of different things. And we looked at, what was that other one we used? VidBlaster.
Yeah, VidBlaster.
VidBlaster is incredible, but it's also like $1,000.
Yeah.
And it's too much. I tried to use it. I don't know if you ever actually used it. To me, it was so distracting to keep up with everything that was going on. I could not use it. XSplit is it's simpler. It's a much simpler program, and it's only $60 for 2 years.
XSplit is?
XSplit, $60 for 2 years.
Yeah, which is pretty good. $30 a year. That's not bad.
Yeah, the other thing I like is I have it do a local recording. So it's doing the recording that's sending to a live stream, and I'm doing a local recording at a higher bit rate.
Well, do just an audio recording?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That might fix my Audacity problem. If I could just do an audio and MP3. Although you can strip out that audio pretty fast, can't you?
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Rennie said I should ask for a raise. Dave, you need to double what you pay me.
You know what I tell? You remember Jenny from my show. She works for me, and I tell several of the people that work for me that aren't on a bonus system that I tell them, you did such a great job. I'm going to double your bonus.
Yeah. Right.
What's 2 times
so
0?
Mean. They hate that, by the way. They loathe us for when we do things like that. I just did something like that today. Somebody was saying something. And I said, well, I'll pay you double what they pay me for that. And, they pay me 0. People hate that. They're like, jackass.
I just got the "Are you still here?" thing.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, Dave, and look at that. And I think Dave, you need to convince the BYOB guys to get off of Skype.
Oh.
They didn't have any video last week, and Skype was just crap. I hate Skype.
I know.
For this.
Yeah, and this is better. I mean, this is a better layout for video. One of the things I could do a little better of, like resizing the window, so like it probably should have been like this for the show, where it's not.
Yeah. The other thing you can do is, let's say, so for instance, you have a spot where you want to only show you or only show one person, and you know this. You can just click on their face and here in Google Hangout, and it will lock onto them. So if I accidentally do this or something while you're talking, it doesn't flip to me. You're locked in on that. I don't know how to do that on Skype unless you're with with Procaster, you just zoom in on that one person's little icon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, preaching to the choir.
I had for this show, towards the end of the show, I had clicked it so it only showed you because Dave was saying I was watched out, so I felt a little embarrassed.
I wasn't going to point that out, Dave, but it's like when you have a friend with something on his mouth, he's gonna finish eating, you just let him go like that because it's funny.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I need to fix the light. I'm not this pale, but I don't care. I guess I could fix it on the camera. I had done that once before.
Yeah.
To change the color in the camera, but obviously I don't care. It's obvious that I don't care.
And your angle's a little different. We don't get to see your skis.
Yeah, I moved it around. I was doing some other things and moved it around. You're seeing the stairwell and some other stuff over there. Yesterday I got home late. Tonight I got home late. Maybe this weekend I'll get the studio back in order, get the lighting fixed.
Yeah, you're a little ghostly. Yeah.
No, I am pale. I am. And it doesn't help that I'm wearing black.
Yeah.
I didn't even take my jacket off. I just sat down and started plugging things in. It was snowing outside when I came in. I just started the things. Well, guys, I've got a 7 o'clock departure tomorrow morning. So
it is 12:30 here.
It is. Thanks for staying up. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. That'll be it for tonight. We'll catch you back here next week.
See you, Rennie. See you, Dave. Bye, Jim.
See you guys.